Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm going to do a quick unboxing video here of the Turbo Technics S280 for the 2014 Plus Fiesta ST. So I'm going to do this video real quick just because we're going to be installing it in the next video releasing later this week. So let's just go ahead and get into it here. We got all the install hardware, so we got a charge pipe, couplers and stuff in here. And down here is the turbo itself. Little booklet here. A couple turbocharger fitting instructions before fitting the turbocharger. Go ahead and read through this. And then just some information about the company. Company looks like a little pamphlet. Kind of going over what they do. Let me grab the turbo out of here. Like I said, it's going to be real quick. Let's get this install bag open. And like magic, everything's out of the bags and spread out. So I'm going to go over each individual thing here that was in that bag. The turbo and it was in its bag and just by itself. The only thing that was on it were these documents here. So this just gives you the part number, the serial number for it, what vehicle it's for, what it was balanced to on the VSR machine, and then they give you a little printout here that has you know, the results from the balancing on the VSR machine. So that's pretty much it for the turbo side. So all the install stuff here, there's quite a bit. So these are going to be the coolant lines. One end's going to go to the turbo here. You can see the fittings are all pre-installed. So these will just slide on here, and then you'll have a bunch of clamps right here. Inside them is going to be your hose clamps for this. And then on the other end of your coolant lines are going to be these quick adapters here. So one end is going to go to these hoses here, and then the other end is going to go to your factory hoses. So there is only enough clamps for the turbo side, and then the custom fitting side here. So on the factory line side over here, you're going to reuse the factory clamps. Get these out of the way. Here's a new oil feed crush washer. It's U-shaped, it's not a big deal. You can stick it on there, but if it breaks, it's not, like I said, not a big deal. It'll still work just fine. I can see these breaking a lot on the connection, so don't worry about it. Just as long as they're in place on the top and bottom of the banjo, the factory feed line, you're good. Then we have 3 copper nuts. These are for the turbo to manifold connection, and here's the studs. So you're going to put the studs in the turbo itself. One here. And then the other 2 will go up in the manifold and drop through the turbo, and you'll put the nuts on the bottom side. And then on these nuts here, you'll just snug them down, don't crank on them. Just as soon as you feel them get tight, give them a little quarter turn and you're good to go. Then you'll have 2 rubber grommets and 2 stainless nuts here. So they look a little odd, but they're actually really cool how Turbo Technics did this. So you'll take the little rubber grommets. This might be a pain in the ass, but we'll see. I haven't done it yet. Nope, not too bad. So put the rubber grommet in here on both sides. And then on the car, you'll have studs coming down from the oil pan that'll come through here. And then you just push these little bolts through. As you tighten them down, they'll pull themselves through the grommet. So pretty neat. I think it's a cool idea and it looks really clean. Then obviously you have your charge pipe here. This will connect to the back of the turbo and then bolt to the oil pan. And then you'll use your factory boost pipe or boost coupler here. Or if you have an aftermarket one like Whoosh, which we're going to be putting on here, you'll see in the install video, it'll just connect from here and go right to the intercooler. So for the couplers and the blow-off valve, because there's no provision on the front of the compressor cover for the blow-off valve like factory, you have a little adapter here. So we'll go over that real quick. We have the coupler that'll push onto the turbo here. It includes clamps down here. And then you have a coupler that goes to the intake. Move these out of the way. This is pretty tight fit, but you want it to be. Then you have your blow-off valve flange here. So this is a factory style adapter. So you can put your factory one on here. You can put your Go Fast bits on here, your Boomba one if you have one for whatever reason, and Turbo Smart. So those will all bolt on there just like factory. Now, if you have a blow-off valve that doesn't vent to atmosphere, but you want it to, you can just flip this around. Just have it pointing out, and then you just need to plug the intake side here. It doesn't need to be recirculated, but if you do, you just flip it around and you'll shove it in this connection here. And then just make some adjustments, you know, on both couplers here so everything just fits nice and tight and smooth against the turbo. It's a little tight in there, but it'll fit. And then your factory boost control solenoid will just slide right on here. All the connections are still the same. So you have the connection that used to go to your compressor cover on the factory turbo, goes here. Your wastegate connection is here, obviously. And then your connection that used to go to the intake now goes to the side of this blow-off valve adapter. So that's just a, this is just air that gets regulated from the solenoid. When it gets bypassed, it goes off the top of the solenoid and just goes in here. You can connect it if you want. If you don't, not a big deal, but it's pretty easy enough to just run it here and make the connection. So the last thing here, oh, it does come with a new fire ring for between the manifold and the turbo itself. It goes up here. And then you have this adapter here that goes to your factory intake or any aftermarket intake that connected to your factory turbo. So this just pops in here. Might be the other way. Yep. It's a little tight, but she'll go. So shove that in there. I'm not going to make any more dad noises, but pop that in there, and then your factory intake will chop on there. So it's a really straightforward kit. It's really clean how they have it all set up. So you can reuse the factory blow-off valve and not have to worry about adapting some sort of HCAS or tile to, say, an ATP charge pipe. For the wastegate, we're going to test it how it comes off the shelf, and then I'll make a couple like data log posts and kind of going over where we can see some benefits with our wastegate actuator, which I've already made a custom actuator for this turbo using our custom spring set through TurboSmart. So we're gonna run it, capture some logs on 93 octane, see how much boost this will hold up top. If we start seeing it drop off, we'll start making our custom wastegate and going through a couple different of our different sets of our custom springs to get the best results like we already do for the other hybrids out there. So, oh, last thing, comes with an oil drain gasket. So you just pop this in here, use a factory drain connection, and you'll be good to go. This turbo does require a very small modification to the block. Sounds like a big deal, but it's really not. Next video after this one is going to be an install on our Fiesta here. So I already have everything all prepped. I'm already going through the video or going through the install. So when I get to the point of installing this on the car, I will have a little note on there and a hot link in the video taking you directly to the block modification that needs to be done. So it's very minor. I've already spoke with Ron at Whoosh and spoke to Turbo Technics about the modifications that need to happen. It's very, very small. I'll show you the best tool to use for it if you have access to air. If you don't have access to air, I'll come up with another solution for you so you can do it, you know, install in your own garage without air. So that'll wrap it up. Keep an eye out. I'll also put in the link here when it's released or in the description for the install video of this turbo.